is you wanna evaluate the curriculum and program and survey, maybe interview and collating the data. That's a measurement. Okay, it is maybe numbers, right? And the assessment, you gotta interpret it and then present. That is represent the measurement data. That is assessment. So assessment is it's like next to the measurement, right? If you wanna evaluate some curriculums and programs, and there is a measurement. We need there is need of measurement, and then we need to assess with measurement, right? So after that, we're gonna process one more time, evaluate. We're gonna see what is evaluate. So assessment process is there is two kind of assessment process. First of all, norm-referenced assessment and criterion referenced assessment. So norm-referenced assessment is a compare the performance of individual with that of other students using the same measuring device. So reference assessment is there is maybe 30 people in this classroom, and then there's a lot of individual and they compares, right? Maybe you could see divided, categorized to each groups, and then you can see the group data and kind of compare. So group A, group B, you can compare. Maybe there's 10 individuals here, and then you can there's an achievement of individuals, and then you can compare. Like there is non-reference assessment. So maybe I don't just remember your high school year and then you take a test and what's your rank in your class. When I was in Korea, there's who is number one, number two, number three is always they ranked. But here, I don't know how they ranked. There is I never seen my kids' report card and it's kind of ranking. Your children is number 1 and number 10, number 30 out of 30. There is no, there is how many percentile, how much, how they do like this, and there is kind of 4-point scales like that, and then divided 4, and then they are really loud and then mark 4, and not, and then satisfy and 3, little bit okay and 2, and 1 is like this, and there is a certain criteria mark, and then they give them their numbers, right? There is but they collect all data and compare, right? That's assessment, but norm reference assessment is like a grade and mark, a percentile, and like this, and then they use the whole things and depends on their metrics, and then depends on the metrics what they use, and then people are assigned like this. If you take SAT, and then what is the percentage of your score? What is the percentile? So percentage is a little bit different, right? And then like this, and then there is a norm reference assessment. What about the criterion reference assessment? Criterion is it's not individual. It's not comparing individuals, but compares the individual performance with the predetermined level or standard of performance. Okay, there is maybe a certain standard is here. Okay, so if they take this One example is if they take a curriculum development and okay, maybe student take there's a prerequisite and they finish it and then they're supposed to this level and then there's a predetermined standard and criteria. So okay, if they study like 4 hours every week and they supposed to meet this standard like 80%, right? 70%, 80% like this, and there is a previous standard and criteria is here, and then how students achieves, and then compare and student achievement and the predetermined standard. That's the criterion reference assessment. Okay, you can see the two kind of assessment, right? So, and there's assessment. So assessment is like involved in interpreting the data and representing the measurable data. Okay, and there's assessment. What is the evaluation though? Then. So evaluation is a process that consists of a process of measurement and assessment providing adequate and useful data upon which the final judgment are made. It means that without measurement, without assessment, we cannot evaluate. So evaluate is judgment. Is it good or bad? We need to change it or we can keep it based on the measurement and assessment. That's evaluation. So evaluation is a final stage of three terms. Measurement first, collecting data, and assessment is the data interpretation, and then evaluation is judgment. Okay, so remember there was a difference of these terms, and then we say that how can we evaluate this curriculum, right? And then before the evaluation, before we evaluate, and okay, what we need pre-work. Measurement is supposed to be there, maybe interview, and then a lot of different area, and then what else, and then you can get some assessment with the interpreting data. Maybe sometimes you cannot interpret the data by yourself, and then maybe you can hire someone who studies statistics and maybe outside as expert, right? And then evaluate, assessment is done, and then what's the final judgment based on the assessment, right? So evaluation is based on assessment interpretation of the collected data with the information gained from measurement and assessment. I already told you, and then educator better position to make a value judgment, which are the variably expressed in written comment. So maybe how can you judge, and how can you put your judgment, right? That's the evaluation process. But we should know that evaluation not just your intuition, and just maybe fancy kind of it's not kind of a boom in certain thing. It's not a fancy word, right? Be realistic based on and based on the measurement and the assessment. That's the evaluation. So we gotta know that. Sometimes, I don't know whether you guys go to meeting and talk about something and try to evaluate, and it's too abstract because there is no specific evidence why we need to do it and why the program needed to improve, and it's really, if you go to business sector and then maybe they gotta collect the data, you gotta analyze the data, whether it's really effective or not, and based on the data, you gotta make evaluation. But if you go to other setting, like especially church, go to church, and then a lot of, they are talking about really abstract stuff and really use the abstract and then really used to not take the specific step to go further, to make it better, and then, we are doing good and it's okay, and we don't know what we are doing, right? Sometimes, maybe it depends on the society, right? So, my church is a Caucasian kind of a dominant church, more than 80%, and then their culture is totally different from my culture. So I'm the Korean American and they are Caucasian and they grew up here, educated here, and then approach is so different. So whenever my pastor tried to make something and always, okay, there's a goal this year. How can we measure? How can we evaluate? Always, he kind of tried to try to show the whole process and to the board, and then I was a board member, and then pretty kind of amazing. But sometimes I studied social science, and then I know how to make a measurement and how to evaluate and interpret data and evaluate, and then I had more experience about kind of doing in academic setting, and then sometimes, we gotta go to one more step. So we usually have measurement of how we are doing annual measurement, evaluation. So evaluation, but I suggest that we had measured like a 4-point scales. Just think about, I'm satisfied, okay, maybe a little bit need, and I'm not satisfied. Like this 4-point scale, and then it's hard to see the people's, and then when you get the data in, we can see everything is turn out good, but not still reality is different though. But we cannot see there is some much margin between really we need to improve or really they like, because the 4-point scale. So average is all like kind of around 90%, over than 90%, and but I suggested it's hard to see what we really doing. It's a 4-point scale. It's not help us. So can you make a little bit bigger scale? So I suggested, and then maybe 10-point scale and 7-point scale, and then usually 10-point scale you can see it's a lot detail, and then so they said that 10-point scale is too much, and maybe 7-point scale, and then we can see that what's the difference, so how we are doing, and depends on the scale, maybe just formality you guys are doing, and but if you not see how you are doing in reality, and then wow. So we gotta make a little bit detailed. So couple years ago, and then we changed the kind of evaluate the measurement, and then we can see the data, and then it's very different though. After that, and we can see wow our church is really doing excellent. But it's okay, and average like we can clearly see in the with the result, right? That is kind of a better assessment, and so based on that one, so maybe when you see the performance, and then a lot of people, leaders, we are doing good with the 4-point scale, and say that nothing wrong with us, but if you really expand it to the 7 scale, and then you could see what you are doing very well and what you are doing really bad, right? previous it's not the skill wise and it's not crucial, but if we spell it, it's extended to the 7-point scale, we are failing on that one. Yeah. So it's a different. Alright, what is the nature of evaluation though? Evaluation's final judgment. And then just think about the understanding of the role of evaluation in the designing and redesigning of curriculum is really central for the professional teachers who are really autonomy and responsibility to reflect and deliberate about curriculum. So without evaluation, that's the current Zoom world set, and then really it's really crucial for teacher because we can see even though there is a good curriculum is there, but we don't know how teachers are doing, and then maybe the curriculum is like there is no teachers couldn't manage the class very well, and then we got to change in different class, right? Like this, and then really important though. So really crucial and central for the professional teachers, right? And educators, not teachers, all of our educators. And so think about how can we make effective curriculums. And so if we want to make effective curriculums, evaluation requires what judgment is based on appropriate and relevant data, right? Other than that, they're not going to take it. They're not going to be persuaded, right? And just think about effective evaluation and ineffective evaluation. Maybe effective evaluation provide specific data, relevant and appropriate, and but ineffective evaluation is not just your assumption, kind of impulse, your kind of your feeling and thought. Sometimes really and fancy. It's like out of your reality, and that's a really ineffective. And so there is two approaches to make judgments, evaluations, and one is the product evaluation, the other one is a process evaluation. There is a difference. So product evaluation is an evaluation of a student performance, right, in a specific learning context, how they are doing, right, and so product evaluations determine how well student is achieving the state object of the learning situation. So it's a real product means that just to see how students are doing, and with their the student achievement is compared with see our objectives and the goals, right, that we already set. So student performance is seen as a product of educational experience. That's why I call product evaluation. So we can see and write a school report card, right? Maybe every month, maybe midterm and final, and after final they put all together with and they grade, and then student gonna get the report card, right? So we can see which one is good and which one is not good. That is a product, one of the example of a product evaluation. Report card, right? Transcript. And what about the process evaluation? Process evaluation is that examines the experience activity involved in the learning situations. It's related to the activities, right? Experience. Maybe of whole process, maybe student write about the experience, and maybe there is a special like a curriculum is field, exposed to field, right? And then you can go and see, and like this, and then there's examining the experience activities and provided in the classroom. So just think about and through the extracurriculums and anything, and student acquire learning or examine the learning experience before it has been concluded, right? Concluded. That is a process evaluation. So maybe it's not like a grade the report card, but still we can see how student processed, right? What student learn from this experience and activities. That's the process evaluations, and then so in most cases and process evaluation is making judgment about school effectiveness, and then what is the classroom interactions and curriculum, and about the effectiveness of special programs, right? And that is their process evaluation. It's a little bit broader sense, and then classroom interaction, kind of how the student experience, and then what about the school effectiveness, right? How they runs and activities and all kind of stuff. It's not related to the grade, student performance, right? But it's like environment. So process evaluation may be conducted upon the nature of student-teachers interactions and how students interact with teachers and other students during the class, right? And what about the instructional method, and then how students think about that one, and they can see the one maybe programs provided stage or maybe better like give to the student program, like this, and then there's a lot of things not related to the grade. Now, performance of your school, performance of a student, and there's a different differences between product evaluation and the process evaluation. Got it? And there's a main evaluation, but sub evaluation. There is curriculum evaluation and teachers evaluation and program evaluation. That is a sub-categorized evaluation is there. So curriculum evaluation is apply the process of evaluation to the context of a curriculum. Context of a curriculum. So maybe here David said that the process of delineating or obtaining and providing information useful for making decision and judgment about curriculums, right? How can you connect it, and then and obtaining and providing information useful for making decisions. That's a curriculum curriculum evaluation. So curriculum evaluation involves examination of goals, rationale, and structure of the teacher's curriculum like this. And you can it's not related to the student performance and then the curriculum itself, right? Maybe the order of the curriculums, and then also breadth of the curriculum and relevance of the curriculums, right? Like that. And so That is basically the curriculum evaluation. What about teachers evaluation? I don't know whether you guys have done before, and maybe after this class, and you could evaluate teachers. And there's when I came over United States, and then I went back to college, and then I was studying psychology because I was interested in the clinical psychology, so counseling, related to counseling and help the mental illness patients, and then I was really uncomfortable evaluating teachers. I don't know, I never done that while I was in college. So, and we gotta evaluate based on what the questions that provided by schools. And that is really sensitive to the associate professor and assistant professor, but it doesn't open on the tenured professor much, so it's okay. But it's really sensitive. That's why teachers try to help a student a lot to get good evaluation. Anyway, that is this teachers evaluation is concerned with the examination of teachers' performance with a view to providing useful feedback, right? Useful feedback by the maybe administrators, maybe by students, and by them, kind of self questions or whatever, and then So teachers' evaluation is like different way they can conduct, right? And so that we can see how teachers to teach in better way and effectively settings. So we can erase the teacher's performance. And what is the program evaluation? The third one is the program evaluation. Is sometimes the outside of education and program evaluation is used as a mean of determining effectiveness and efficiency and acceptability of any form of program. And maybe school has a lot of different programs, like if you go to Christian schools and high school and college, and there's opportunity to go other country and kind of spend time with the local people. So we call it mission, other than it's not mission, but still like this. And then sometimes any like a program that we need to really aware, right? Like a pandemic during the COVID-19. So COVID, like just think about they create a lot of programs and differently, and then especially during the pandemic, and what's a hybrid class, and then online class, and we had a lot of tried a lot of different things and try to support parents and try to support the students and like this. So, and any program that relate to education, and then that especially made a problem, and sometimes it's not education, maybe not related to, maybe it's really hand-on activities, this one is, it's not sitting in the classroom, right? And yesterday, last weekend, my daughter, she's in graduate school, the school really emphasized engage with the community. So school really want student to go and serve the community. So when she was in Omaha, and then every Saturday she goes to place that help homeless people and lot of people, and then sometimes they have kind of club to mentoring to those high school students, and then they make time available, and they do seminar, and they spend time together like this, and then she's spent a lot of time with activities. That's a problem. So yesterday, last weekend, she volunteered for a program. It's kind of farming. I told you she's in medical school, but she volunteers farming. So I think they grew up here and they never done the farming, and then she is exposed to what's the farming like. 5 years ago, I took her to Korea, and then I visited my sisters, and she has an orchard and raised a lot of different things, and then she did some work. It's not like a typical farming, but she exposed like that, and then I think she wants to know around what's farming like in Phoenix area, and then she signed up, and then she just picked, it's kind of weird, and then instead of whole day, like 3 hour, 4 hour, 2-3 hours helping the farming, and maybe just they said, my daughter said 15-20 minutes, and they actually work and picking the cabbage and kind of stuff, and then after rest of almost 1.5 hour, 2 hours, and then they think about the history of this farm, and then how they raise the crops, and then a lot of different ways they kind of introduce. It's really interesting though, but I don't know how much the students are interested about how they grow the crops with music, right? And interesting is that my daughter told me that violin and cello is to work for the growth of the crops. And they said that by the research and usually they take 1 month to grow up to that level without music usually, but if you use music, and maybe take 2 weeks and grow up to this level, same level, so like this, and then so interesting. So maybe even though the volunteers didn't get involved in the farming physically, but they learn about how farming is nowadays, how farming is like, and how they process all stuff, right? That's the kind of program that they offered, and then think about, and maybe there's an intention of a program that providers, and there is an intention of the students, the volunteers for the program, and then you can see what's good, what's not good, right? And there's a different expectation, and then maybe evaluation different. That's why we need to know what is the object, and maybe there's a program's object, the object of a program, and they're supposed to know to the teachers, and then people they sign up, people they go, and they need to know what it's about, and then maybe their interest is still there, and then maybe they can go and see the program. Like other than that, but they design the program like this, but they don't inform the student and what happened. Some are really interested and some are not, right? That's a volunteer work. And that's one way that we can evaluate. It's often like they can see the student response and engagement, but what about student from the survey from students? Student can write down and give them some data. That is the evaluation that we can go, right? So sometimes, this one is maybe a part of a curriculum, maybe not part of a curriculum. So it depends on. sometimes it can overlap, and then that's one of the kind of concern that we had. So usually we had product, evaluation, product evaluation, and what? And process evaluation there, but there is another subcategory evaluation, the curriculum evaluation, and the teachers evaluation, and program evaluation. So, what is the functions of evaluations? Maybe we can think about already, okay, function should be effective. We want to make a program and curriculum effective, right? That's why we are doing. Maybe, what is the functions? So evaluation is essential to provide feedback to learners. Okay? We can see without evaluation, we don't know how they are doing. And without specific data and appropriate data and relevant data, and we cannot say. So this one, the evaluation and provide feedback about how they're doing. Well, you guys, here's the data that you are doing, and like if you're taking this curriculum development, oh, you are really doing good at midterm, and so you are doing really good. Okay, keep it up like this, and you can give the feedback. And someone is kind of building, passing. Oh, you gotta study a little more, and then otherwise you're gonna fail, right? That's a give them feedback. So Harry's emphasized the value of contribution of evaluations. So it makes the student learning through the provision of feedback on student performance, right? Students' performance. So it's really useful. It's useful information. Provide useful information that address the student's strengths and weakness and how to improve their performance. Okay, we're gonna maybe if we know a little bit detailed kind of evaluation, and then you can show that one. Mean that not just performance and what's the strength and what's the weakness, and then you wanna see, and then a little bit you can observe a student different way, but still we can give them, right? And that is one of the functional evaluations. And evaluation is essential in determining how well learners have achieved the state object, right? And there is a clear goal is there. Maybe students have different kind of goal of the class. Maybe I want to get A, maybe I want to learn how to design, develop a program, and even though I want to see everything. Sometimes grade is different from actual learning, right? Maybe sometimes even though they are really good at testing, sometimes they don't know how to use the whole principles and process, right? And okay, maybe sometimes, sometimes, and okay, I wanna to kind of follow the individual process and from the beginning, and whatever class said, and okay, maybe I can develop a curriculum for my maybe first grade, and maybe in your working place anyway. So, and okay, I want to learn how to do that. So like this, and then depends on student goal, but determining how well learners have achieved the state object, and maybe education object, maybe sometimes, and just think about when I study, when I do something, sometimes I ask, what do you want from this class? And mean that they can say they something have, and then they said, and then what it means is their expectation and their goal. from the class, right? So we can see individual goals and then maybe the stated object of the program. So that's why we need to employ the evaluative techniques, not just how can we kind of decide if we don't have any evaluative techniques, and then we cannot see how we change, how we keep going, and it's hard, right? So if you want to determine, and then maybe give, if you want to be really persuade students, students and to be better, and then there is a specific, tangible object is there, and class object there, and for their object is here, and then how can you analyze and evaluate it like this, right? Another function is that provide information to improve curriculum. That is for student, really, First one is feedback to students, and then second one is we can determine how well student achieved, right? Achieved the state object, and then think about, and then we know the student, how they doing, and we know the object, and then what is the information to provide, well, how can we do? And we need specific information, which area, right? And then think about what's the struggling, and what are they doing, and how they engage in the class, and like this. And then that's why we can get information to see the next and improve the curriculum. So there's evaluative data provides the basis for changes. Okay, if you want to change, what is? Maybe it's not a win, it's not fancy, right? We need appropriate and relevant data presented, right? So the goal is that the goal of the evaluation is to make a curriculum more effective, right, in meeting the objectives. So how can we make educator and curriculum developers, and kind of help them to be create effective curriculum for their, right? That is, and how can help them to improve the curriculum while they are developing curriculum. That is the function of their evaluation. And here is more, and so evaluation is kind of just from information from evaluation is employed by student is a personal decision making. Okay. Think about data provided to student, and they think about what kind of so future courses of action concerning student and employment and career, like all these are based on the data given as a feedback to students from their participation in the curriculum. And especially vocation schools is a really important things, and how they do it, right? That's why when they get a certificate, and they have to pass a certain level of knowledge and skills, right? So it's really helpful for students, right? Making decisions. And evaluation also provides useful information to curriculum development to clarify the stated objectives. And there is a aim is there, how big umbrella of the direction of education, philosophy of education, and then a little bit break down and goal of education. And how can we carry out specifically in classroom that objectives, right? And then, maybe we cannot meet the standard of objectives, and then it means that we cannot go up to our goal. It's already disqualified, right? That's why we can get a really useful information. Let's clarify the state objectives. So feedback obtained through the evaluative procedures and indicate how realistic and how effective of the original object were, and then where change is required, right? That's why we are evaluating. So without evaluating, maybe the curriculum may be out of context. And so a lot of time if you this one is try to help a student and really provide and constructive information so student can kind of enhance their making decision effectively, right? And sometimes they can see what they really want to do, and Carl will provide self-evaluation. So that is really important. So evaluation is really important. It's really important. So you gotta see the without evaluation we don't know and we don't get any feedback, right? We cannot help a student where they need to go or how making their decisions, and we don't know. We are achieving the state, the goal, objectives, right? And that is really important. So think about the function of the evaluation. That's why we need it. And you design a curriculum and it just runs and runs and runs. We don't know whether it's effective or not. And I don't know how much, but a lot of people, if you are not a kind of expert, and they used sometimes was already published, and then here's another example is I wanna kind of educate my church members, provide more in-depth knowledge of theology. So maybe you cannot, and then you don't know what is there is no situational analysis, and then you maybe go and bookstore and pick up the book, and then maybe there's provide some curriculum, and then you can, okay, that's good, and then you're gonna use that one. But still, sometimes that one is a kind of general thing, general kind of direction, right? But what about your congregation need, your people's need? Well, what about your church's need? What's as a Christian, what they need in their life? And that's why we developed a curriculum or program that we really want, because there is a specific need, and then that's why, and we analyze the whole situation, what's the object, and then follow the procedure, and then develop a curriculum, right? And that's why and then you implement it and you run the curriculum, and then see curriculum is really working or not. Okay, there is a type of evaluation, and what kind of, there is a three, depends on the right? So people who had a lot of different things, but based on our textbook, and there is three kind of evaluations, types of evaluation. And first one is formative evaluation. And formative evaluation is directed toward providing information on what learner's performance. Learner's formative, it's like a student, and then okay, here is you guys are taking this class, and then I just okay, so at the end of the class, and then we can see how you guys are doing. Maybe some of them get A and A plus like this, and then so maybe I have to turn the grade, midterm, and quizzes, and sometimes and the final report card like this, and then that's the usually school does, right? School does, right? And report card, and that is also information on learners' performance. That is a formative evaluation. So the purpose is to help both learners and teachers focus on the participation in learning necessary for mastery. How can teachers can know the student, how they learn, how much they learn, and then how the student to master this class, right, and finish it right, and that's why this is a purpose, and we gotta know that okay, I have a certain objective this year, and then if you get a C, that's enough. If you get a B, and then maybe it depends on teacher. At least you gotta get the B, and then you are pretty okay, and you keep the very well. And then you can see student performance, and then teachers kind of work, and then how they interact together, and student make outcome, and then see the result, and then help student and teachers, right? Next. Yeah. And the formative evaluation is kind of it's a good. Maybe it depends on the teachers, and then some classes provide requires quizzes and papers and midterm and final. So I still remember when I was in study psychology and calculus pulmonary, and then the professor is to be called the instructor, and then one class I was taking the quarter system like this school, and then I was taking usually 3 classes up to 5 classes. Sometimes I was taking 6 classes. So I finished everything in 3 years, and then it's too crazy. I didn't know what happened. Yeah, but still I went through. I finished. I finished the school. Anyway, and when I take 3-4 classes, and every week I have a test, right? Some class, and every other week take a class, test and quizzes, and some class and midterm and final. So think about you just have the class, and then depends on the I have to turn in the paper, and then I have to do this one. Every week is so busy, right? That's kind of formative evaluation is kind of ongoing. Maybe you can wrap up with the final report, but still it should really see how the student is doing and try to help students. So formative evaluation may be also be taken in curriculum. So teachers and program evaluation to obtain the evaluative information about performance. So right. So it's from curriculum. Maybe curriculum is not relevant, and that's why student is not interested, and then too much theoretical like this. And that's basically when you think about evaluation, it's a formative evaluation, it's a test and report. Your grade, right? Your grade is based on your performance. That's a formative and evaluation. What about summative evaluation? Summative evaluation is kind of general assessment of a degree to which a larger outcome has been attained over the entire course, and some, or some substantial part of it. So evaluation, summative evaluation employed at the end of a learning experience to indicate student achievement, and maybe report card. And you don't, maybe there is a portfolio for student, and quizzes and papers, and then activities, participations, and usually they assign the point, right? And class attendance, and midterm, and finals, and a lot of things are there. And then maybe you can mark, and then to their portfolio, student portfolio, and then later on, based on all things, and then you kind of evaluate the student achievement. That's a summative evaluation. So usually maybe so your the grade each term, and then maybe if you taking some certificate course, and it doesn't matter how you well, and test is okay, but what about the final? Final is you can put all together, and then you have to practice. You have to pass the skill set, and you have to pass the kind of knowledge, and that is just hard. There's so much evaluation. So my daughters, and they are really interested in medical field for their vocation job, and then we want them to kind of expose to medical field, and that's why they took the shadowing. See how doctor is doing, and there's different kind of doctors, but whoever is available, whoever willing to help my kids, and then they go and see. And another thing is that they do medical emergency technicians, so we call the EMT. Who can see who is driving ambulance, and if you wanna certified with the ambulance and driver, and then there's a certain courses there. There's all the bottom of the medical field, and like sometimes they pay less than McDonald's workers. My daughter work is she got paid around $12, $13, something like per hour, and then there's a summative. I tried to explain the summative, and then they have a quiz and all kind of stuff, and mean that they push them to study, but there's a final is there, or big test, and if you fail the test, you cannot. And there's a skill set test here, so around 12 skills, so they gotta finish in time and crack it, like this. And there's a summative evaluation though. My older daughter, she got the kind of certificate, and then worked for CARE for a year, and then she went back to graduate school. And my younger one, with that one, she volunteered in a fire station. To fire station, they need a kind of person, and sometimes there is a small, I forgot the name, my daughter told me about small choice there, and there is a skill and experience. It's not EMT, there's a nurses there sometimes. They are highly trained experience, there are people there, and sometimes what the EMT person they can do the basic stuff, and then but they cannot do it, and then a little bit what's the higher techniques and what's the skills, and then they are taking care of it, right? And yeah, there is a summative evaluation. So usually maybe when you get a vocation or maybe vocation schools and you gotta pass it, right? Even doctors and nurses and pharmacists, and then if you finish the whole courses and you can now pass a board exam, and then you're not gonna qualify for it, right? Satisfied. What about diagnostic evaluation? With my background, educational background, I never done that, but still, when I came here, and then I needed to take English placement test and math placement test. What was that? They want to see my ability about math and English. So usually you gotta take it, even though my daughters and grow up here, and then usually when they go to college, and my second one, she studied Spanish and math, and before they start, and sometimes science class, and they gotta take a test, and then they wanna see the level, and then decide, based on our criteria, you start from here, and then maybe you can exam, and then you have to take a prerequisite class to take this one, like this. Usually English and science and second language, they have kind of diagnostic evaluation. So I took the diagnostic evaluation for English and math, and then I'm a Korean, and then it's not a higher level math test, but they wanna see where I am, and then I passed the basic level. So I jumped in the statistics class without any algebra class, like that. And that's the diagnostic test. And so diagnostic evaluation is directed toward the two purposes. One is for placing a student properly at the outset of instructional period, and then another one is to discover the underlying cause of the deficiency in student learning as the instruction unfolds, right? Both, and then we can see which level they are, right? And then any underlying cause of the deficiencies. That's why they do. We call the placement test or diagnostic test. So this one is before you start class, and other thing is usually before they start, right? Show the performance, and they gotta take evaluation. So it's really important, because before they start, and you gotta know where they are in terms of science and math and English, and most of them, even though they grown up, and depends on your kind of ethnic background, and then maybe how your family cultures and ethnic cultures, and sometimes they are struggling with English, and sometimes they are struggling with math, and depends on So I can see a lot of people struggling with English, and usually like me and other people, and then came to junior high school and high school here, and then long time ago, even though they come here, came here around, America is a junior high school, their English was pretty good, right? But nowadays, when they come here, and then really was because of the globalization and social media, and always exposed to the our mother tongues, and then it's hard to develop the second language, right? Yeah. So it's a lot of students are struggle with English, right? And then sometimes if you are born here and then always except to school and then always speak other language and then when they go to school and it's kind of limitation is there, right? Like that. And that's why my kids and they go to as a kindergarten. They people they go to kindergarten. We said there is a law is that your parents was first generation, but they will speak English at home, and then they gotta take a test, efficiency test, English test, right? So my kids are already my kids took the efficient test at the district center, that place they provide. That's a diagnostic test. So formative and summative and diagnostic evaluation is really usually we use in education, right? School. So there is kind of I have a comparison chart. It's a formative, diagnostic, and summative, and then you cannot see because there is no PowerPoint, and then I already told you function, and there was emphasis of the formative evaluation is cognitively, really focus on the cognitive and sometimes and kind of affection. So about what kind of character they have, characteristic, right? And then diagnostic test is really cognitive, affective behavior also, but physical, psychological, and environmental factor they think about. Like I already told you, speaking English, right? And what about the summative and really see the cognitive outcomes and affective outcomes, and then it's a rating learning. So whole things and consider everything and how they rate their learning, right? One thing that I want to introduce is about types of instrument. And already I told you, right? And we can take a test and we can see the student also student performance, and then sometimes we have tests based on tests and work samples and interviews and checklists and rating scales. So we can see student performance. It's not just once, and summative is once, but formative is not once, right? Whereas the diagnostic test is a standardized achievement test. It's not also school itself and there is a kind of standardized and test scales there, and then usually they use that one, and then because that shows the basic criteria, and and so sometimes teacher made instrument and they had a lot of experience in the classroom, and then they want to which part, because a lot of part, and because of the student background they missing a lot of different parts, right? And then observation, maybe observation is really good, and then checklist we can diagnostic. What about the summative is we already did the final exams or cumulative final, mean that okay, we're gonna take a test the whole books that I learned. It's really hard. And maybe like this, and sometimes it's self-support and work samples like this, and then we can do some edit everything and come out. there is a summative evaluation. Okay, so I want to kind of introduce the basic evaluation and assessment. What are the tools and what are the functions, right? And I wanna see the curriculum evaluation. We already talked about one of the subcategories, and then I didn't talk too much. And curriculum evaluation is kind of there is there's a procedures there. Here is procedure that print suggest, and then evaluation procedure. Okay, procedure means that you gotta, before you jump in, you gotta think and see all the context of what's going on, and what it's doing, understanding what evaluation context. And then if you're done, and then task specifications, delineate the scope of evaluation. So whom is it for, what is involved, and what is related to the object, and you gotta see the kind of specific task, and then you gotta make how can you do the procedures, and then there is a task specification, okay, and then you gotta design the evaluation. So what kind of design you can use it, and make a device plan for the constructed evaluation. So how can you use a measurement, and after assessment, and then how can you that's kind of see that how can you do that, and what kind of evaluation form types you're gonna use, right? And that with that one, after you design the evaluation and how you're gonna do it, and then collect the data. And obtaining data was from the existing source, or using the techniques or device in design stage. So, okay, maybe you can use already existing, it's easier, but sometimes if you have a special purpose and special curriculum, and then maybe you can see with your own designs, right? So you gotta see that maybe you can borrow the techniques, but still relate to the specific things that you're gonna consider, and then you're gonna do that. Ask the analyze data. Analyze the data mean that this is assessment now. So analysis and synthesis and interpretation of data is organized in the design stage, right? So we gotta see and what was the kind of measurement and interpretation, and then based on that one, prepare conclusion based on the result and prepare a report. Make a judgment, body. But body is not just to say something, but you gotta make outcome report based on the whole things. So present conclusion and recommendation to audience and teachers, and then students and educators and parents. That's a kind of process, procedure for curriculum evaluation. So maybe it's like a part of when you do research and some stuff, and always you gotta do the understanding what it's about, and it's maybe same, little bit different in terms, but still same. So you gotta understand what's going on, that's a process, right? And what is the previous work, and what is good, and what is missing. If you kind of review the whole, articles and journals and books, and then you can know what's going on. And then specifically, what are they missing? What is your interest? You cannot usually maybe time elapsed, and then maybe you can go back to kind of re-identify, and then there's some flaws and some missing things, and then you can revisit and you can do again. Usually they kind of based on the research and move on, and then try to find your interest, and then try to how they work, and what haven't worked yet, right? Then and then you're gonna design how can you research about it, and then you can collect the data, okay, based on and analyze and findings, and write down and discussion, and that's all. Conclusions. But present that is curriculum is kind of show that okay, this is our recommendation, and 1, 2, 3. We're gonna see what is the outcome and stuff. So when you're evaluating the curriculum material, so we gotta see what are the interests. It's really interesting, and sometimes it's even really gives the material gives a lot of broad and knowledges and experience, but sometimes it's boring and it's hard for students. Depends on what kind of class. It's a low level class and upper class. Upper level is getting involved in conceptualization more and more. That's why interest. So the material is supposed to be how kind of consider how much is student can take interest in and kind of get involved with interest. But authenticity is a genuinity, right? And sometimes just borrowing without any, and sometimes kind of copying, but it's a lack of authenticity, and then what it's about. It's not itself, and then how can you relate to students? And it's really caring about students with through the educations, like authenticity, what are appropriateness. And think about, even though it's not appropriate to student level, it's not appropriate, it's not easy though. It's not easy maybe, but next level and previous level, that's why it's very important. What about organization and balance? And how can you organize all ideas? And how can you try to keep the balance? There's theories and what's the practicals like this. And if we don't organize well, and sometimes I can see that's why sometimes I here and there change kind of information, because maybe a little bit different from your class note, and then maybe I just follow the books and textbook and other people, but sometimes it's not it's hard to understand the logic. So it's hard for me to understand logic, and I